Tonight's themed species is steeped in mystery and lore. As kids, we're fascinated by these scary monsters, and as adults, we've come to respect these as powerful predators. We've nicknamed them the Taxman, and some call him the man in the gray suit. Tonight, we're talking about sharks here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello anglers, and welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle, and I'm sure you recognize this friendly guy, Captain Jim Ross from our Real Legends Central East region, who's filling in for Captain Rick this week. Jim, it's a pleasure doing co-hosting business with you.
It's so much fun to be here, Brie.
I'm glad you're here.
It's almost feeling like I'm getting the hang of it finally.
You are.
So I'm good with this.
You're a regular, and I love that.
I appreciate you having me.
Well, we're glad you're here. Later in the show, we're talking with our friend from Fish Bites, but you know what? Let's say hi to our Jawsome CCA Workbench Wonder, Dave Farrell.
Did you just say Jawsome?
I did.
I'm still working on it, trying to get the hang of this thing.
I know you are. You'll get there one day.
We're going to be talking about the sharks.
The sharks.
Jawsome.
The Jawsome sharks.
Yes.
Well,
You made me say it twice.
I left him speechless. All right, well, we're sinking our teeth into the Discover Crystal River Northwest region. First up today with Captain Jeff Hageman. So, Hag, let's get our bite on.
Sharks, we've got them, all types and sizes. Blacktip, sharp nose, bull sharks, bonnet heads, hammerheads, makos, tigers. When fishing for sharks, depending on your tackle, it's good, depending on the size shark you're fishing for. Wire leader is a must with all of these two predators. The beaches, the passes are a great place to fish. The Skyway Bridge is also a great place to fish if you don't have a boat. Chum, and more chum. The more scent you put in the water, the more sharks you're going to get coming to you. So put out those chum bags. Good current flow to dispense that chum over a big area will draw fish in really good. Also, offshore, we've got them around wrecks and reefs. Blacktips, sharp nose will be all over the reefs and wrecks. And hard bottom, extra long hook out is a must to protect those fingers. And as far as bait goes, any kind of smelly, oily fish, bonita, mullet, stingrays work really well. And stingray livers really work really well. There's something in the liver of a stingray that absolutely drives them crazy. And I've got a couple photos here of Captain Bo Johnson. He's kind of our shark guru on this west coast. I got a photo of a nice bull shark.
And a little tiny hammerhead.
And a little tiny hammerhead. That's a giant, right?
That thing is monstrous.
Go Bo.
Bo's the man, isn't he?
Awesome.
He can catch some
He
sharks.
is. He can catch them.
Well, tell us about...
Stingray trick with the livers was one of his little tips he showed me how to do, and it brings them in like crazy. So stingray livers is a great bait.
Well, tell us
about
the
snook bite remains strong in the lower half of the region. The reports coming in from Tampa Bay to Crystal River. Tampa Bay, look for fish around mangrove points, good current flow from St. Pete to Anclote. You want to fish around the beaches and passes, jetties, bridges and docks. From Hudson to Crystal River, you want to fish those outer barrier islands. Live pinfish and live sardines for both, either under a cork or free line. 2 to 4 feet of 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 2 to 4 trocar circle hook is the hook that it really works really well with those bigger pinfish. Be careful handling the fish right now in these hotter water temperatures and take some extra time to release them with these long fights in this hotter water. Moving on offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports the grouper bite has been good. They're finding some good ones in 150 to 200 feet of water. Unfortunately, red grouper season is going to be closing August 29th, the last few days. You want to use a bottom rig right now with 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader, 6 to 8 aught circle hook, and 8 to 10 ounces of lead, thread fin herring, and or sardines tipped with squid has been the bait of choice, and live bait is also working pretty well. And I got a photo here of a nice red grouper from Captain Rob on a recent trip.
Oh yeah, big chunky.
Yeah. He's also reporting, Rob out of St. Pete, a good scamp bite right now. They've been in 175 to 250 feet of water. With the water temperatures being so warm, get out there early in the morning and late evening's been the best bite. 60 to 80 fluorocarbon leader, 8 ounces of lead, and a 6-aught hook. And also he's using the same bait he's using for red grouper, redfin, tipped with squid. And I got a photo here of a beautiful scamp with Captain Crystal.
Very nice, very nice.
I'd like to mention there's still plenty of time to enter the CCA tournament. The Contender boat and the Pathfinder boats are both gone, but you still can have a chance to win that Spider boat or catch the Superstar Redfish and win $50,000 in cash. So there's still time to enter that star tournament, and it's a great cause. Get involved.
It sure is. Thanks, Jeff. That is a great mention for CCA, and I'm going to take your Ozello Keys Marina hotspots for the Northeast region for here. Captain Jeff says snook along the beaches and passes, use sardines and pinfish for bait, and then offshore, grouper, reds and gags in 70+ feet of water over ledges, rock piles, and live rock, use pinfish for bait. But I tell you, Brie, I'm getting ready to go over there in October.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go over there to a
Ozello.
grouper trip on Ozello.
Oh, you're going to have so much
forward
fun.
To it.
They're the best over there at Ozello Keys.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, heading south, let's see what the Shark Tank in the Startron Central West region holds with Captain Jeff Page. Go for it, Jeff.
Well, you guys know in our region, the Startron Central West region, shark fishing's a year-round thing that we do, and they probably get most famous and most notoriety during tarpon season. I'm sure Hag mentioned that. And they actually have become quite a nuisance on the near-shore wrecks and reefs when guys are permit fishing and even smaller groupers and snappers. But that being said, if you want to hook a shark, it's a pretty basic idea. Just a jack, a mullet. I heard Hag mention stingray wings. They work real well. And you want to use wire leader if you want to land them, or at least 100-pound fluorocarbon monofilament leader. A big 8.0 on-up size hook. Those Trocor extra heavy duties work real well, and they hold the bait. And then you want to use like either a big conventional reel, like a 6.80 or bigger. And then in the spinning reel department, they're building these spinning reels now in the 12 and 14 and even 20,000 size that can hold the 100-pound braid to fight these big sharks. So you can still use a big spinning reel outfit. I've got a couple photos tonight of our good friend. He's always on the show. It does a lot of pictures for me. Gary Huffman of Tuna Breath Charters, and he does a lot of near-shore shark fishing out in the middle of Tampa Bay, and those are both really nice sharks he got with customers. Staying offshore, mangrove snapper. The nighttime snapper bite has been really good, Jimmy, with guys getting their limit no problem and a lot less heat, and the fish seem to not be near as spooky. So that's probably your better bite. But if you want to go in the day, you want to lighten that leader up, get it down to about 15 to 25-pound fluorocarbon max, and you want to be in 110 to 150 feet of water over ledges or hard bottom. Have a mixture of live pinfish and some cut bait. Got a photo tonight of Captain Billy Nobles of a really nice mango snapper. And now we're going to roll inshore, the redfish. You know, I keep telling you the redfishing keeps getting better, and it just does. We haven't had a rain for a few days, but the fishing's still really good. Early morning on the higher stages of the tide around the oyster bars down Boca Grande way. Danny Latham says it's been really good down there. And then Captain Brett Norris and Rob Gorda both say it's been really good around the Fort DeSoto to Passage Key area. And they all agree on the higher tide around oyster bars, live pinfish. If it's lures you like throwing, it's tough to beat with all the grass in the water. A 1/4 ounce Johnson weedless gold spoon. My redfish photo tonight is of Pure Fishing's Brandon Wallard that got to go out fishing with me about a week ago. That's with a nice redfish. And my last species, snook. Good reports of daytime snook fishing, especially again in the morning when the water's a little cooler around the oyster bars. And if you like throwing topwater plugs, that Jaywalker 120 in the bone pattern is tough to beat. Terracea, Palmasola Bay, and then down south around Bull and Turtle Bay, all the oyster bars. The nighttime guys have been doing really good at the Venice jetties with live silver mullet and ladyfish. And my last photo tonight is of young Kalen Capt. That was the day before school started, and he's with his dad, Stacy Capt of Tightline Charters.
Well,
Great back to school smiles. Look at that.
Look at the yellow in that snook too. Well, that's
Beautiful fish.
Thanks a lot, Paige. I'm going to take your daiquiri deck hotspots for the Central West region from here. Inshore, Captain Paige says speckled trout on the grass flats off the Ringling Mansion north to the Long Bar in Sarasota Bay. Use live pilchers or fish bites, hammer time shrimp in 2 feet of water under a popping cork. And then offshore, red grouper are holding on hard bottom and ledges in 110 to 150 feet of water. And check that area, especially off of Venice, because it seems to be a really good place right now.
Hot spot,
Yeah,
if you will.
hot spot, if you will.
All right, the Casa Vieja Southwest region is taking over next. But first, Dave is taking over Shark Week at the CCA Workbench for Academy Sports and Outdoors, Rigs and Techniques. Dave?
Yep, we are. We're going to tell you how to catch those sharks. Gonna go through a little different ways to rig wire for these sharks because we got to have some wire.
Gotta have that wire. And it's gonna be jawsome. I just want you to say it again. We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Sirius XM Marine. Weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Real Legends. Everything you need to live life local. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Stiffy. Innovators in shallow water performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're at the CCA Workbench with the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques. And Dave, shark fishing is supposed to be simple, but it can get pretty complicated when you get into some of those bigger ones, you know, because you got to have tackle that's going to stand up.
That's correct. Florida has a lot of sharks, and they come in all different shapes and sizes and places to catch them. So there's a lot of different things you have to do when you're coming up against a shark, especially when you're trying to pick the different ones you're going to fish against.
Yeah.
You know,
I noticed there's a lot of wire here.
Yeah, if you're going to be fishing for sharks, you know, sharks have incredibly sharp teeth that never stop coming in, you know. All sharks have a never-ending rows of teeth that just keep coming and coming and coming. That's why we find all these prehistoric shark teeth everywhere in Florida, because they shed, you know, hundreds of thousands of teeth during their life. They all move forward, and a new line comes in, the other ones fall out.
And they bite something, and it either falls out or gets pulled out.
Exactly. So we have to use a wire leader usually. I've caught some big sharks on monofilament leader, especially with circle hooks, because if the circle hook works right and gets into that corner of their jaw, and we can keep the rest of the leader out of their mouth, then we're doing a great thing. We don't have to worry about him cutting off. Exactly. So I've gotten lucky a few times, just like I've gotten lucky with wahoos and kingfish with a circle hook, because if it finds that corner of the mouth, that's what we're wanting. Now I got several different kinds of wire here. I got braided steel cable. You're going to use that for the great big shark. You see there's a big hook on there.
Yeah,
that's for sharks.
Now this is probably what, 270?
I think so.
Yeah, like
something
270
like that.
pound.
Yeah, 270
But I
pound.
noticed, so you're using some uncoated wire and you're using some coated wire in these other ones.
Right.
And this one you've actually had to crimp it.
Right. Yeah, that's a heavy duty leader deal.
But on this one, it's a little bit lighter, but you've actually done a little bit different twist, and I'm going to hold it against my hand so that you guys.
Right. Well, this is this is for sharks, you know, less than 500 pounds. That's for shark. That over there, that steel cable's 500
Big
pounds and up.
Okay.
You know, less than 200 pounds, you can get away with using that 80-pound steel-on. What I really like about the plastic coated steel-on cable is I can twist that up like you see there, and I'll run a torch lighter back and forth on it until that plastic starts to smoke, and that's the key. Once you see it start to bubble and smoke, then you take the heat away. Okay. And you just go up and down that twist, and
so you don't need a crimp.
No, you don't need a crimp with that plastic coated Surflon.
Okay.
And you hit it a few times until it starts to bubble, and then let it cool, and it is 100%. I mean, like I told you before the break, I pulled a doorknob off my office door trying to test it one
Trying
time
to see if you could get
because I didn't trust it. My buddy said, "Hey, come here, watch this," and I go, "That's not gonna work." Well, let's test it. And I made a couple wraps with some nice heavy gloves and pulled the doorknob off my door, and it didn't break. Wow. It's so you can figure out a lot of different ways to do that. But there's several different species that we can harvest. There's like 9 different species that we can harvest in the state of Florida. The short-fin mako being one. He's in the group 3. He has to be 84 inches before we can. He's got to be a good size fish before we can get him. Group 1, there's 8 species with no minimum size. Little sharks like sharp nose and black tips and fine tooth, and all the hound fishes, the smooth hound, the Gulf hound, all those little dogfish,
black nose,
the bonnet head, all those little sharks. A lot of those little sharks, there's no minimum, and they're really good sharks to eat. Those little guys who eat a lot of crabs and crustaceans in the surf. They're pretty good to eat.
Pretty
you
tasty.
Take care of them, clean them, gut them real quickly, and put them on ice right
some
away.
ice in them,
And there's a lot of people who say, well, you got to soak them in milk and all this other stuff. Usually, if you bleed them and gut them and put them on ice, they should be all right. Those little sharks.
Now, obviously, when you're dealing with wire,
Correct.
a good pair of gloves.
Always use a good pair of gloves.
Must.
These are some. I've had some miles put on these Aftcos here.
Yeah.
But I always say, let the shark keep the hook. If I never put any shark in the boat unless he's going home.
Right.
Never for a picture. Sharks don't have a backbone. They're very limber. If you want to see some funny stuff, go to YouTube and
or you don't even
Google shark bite videos, because there's 100 pictures of these guys who pull these little dogfish and
it's always the guy trying to grab him by the tail.
By him by the tail or anywhere. Don't let him stay in the water.
Hageman was talking about chum.
Let him keep the hook.
And he said chum, and they will come.
That's exactly
and
right.
You've got a couple of different kinds of chum
you've got a
cages
metal cage,
Yep.
If you hang that over the side, you don't want to drop it to the bottom because a big shark will grab a hold of it and wreak havoc with it.
Yeah.
These bag chums are good to hang over the side too, but when you're shark fishing, a lot of times because it's a bag, they'll get up there and get their face caught in it, and that's a whole nother problem as well. So I like to hang the metal cages over because they don't get their teeth all messed up in this like they can in this, and once they get into this one, they ruin it.
Yeah.
They can chew on this one for a little while before it gets ruined.
And a lot of guys will actually take a whole barracuda or something like that,
Yeah.
a kingfish carcass.
Any whole
bonito. Although I learned you have to be very careful with kingfish carcasses because FWC you can get.
They have to be a minimum size and everything, just like a regular fish. I
some
imagine.
issues about that. So barracuda, stick with the barracuda.
Yeah, and let them keep that hook, because no matter how much that hook costs, it doesn't compare to an emergency room visit cost.
You are right about that.
Yeah, and I think we all saw that guy in the Keys just twisted the finger right off because he was taking a picture. And like, oh my gosh, Instagram, stop. All right, good job, gentlemen. The frenzy continues with Captain Ronnie Houston in the Casa Vieja Southwest region, where you better have your wire leaders, circle hooks, and cut baits ready. Talk to us, Ronnie.
Well, you know what? Sharks, they can be caught throughout the region, both on the inshore and offshore side. And believe me, right now, there is no shortage of a variety of them throughout the whole region. Now, the wrecks, the towers, the beaches, the flats, and the passes can be targeted. And you can walk the beaches or cruise the beaches with a tower boat, especially with the clean water we have right now. You will see them cruising the beaches. Getting out to most noted wrecks and artificial reefs, strongly suggest chumming, or using big live baits, or even cut baits. Bigger baits, butterfly, will attract them, and most of your inshore and edges on low water, they can be seen right now throughout the whole region cruising. You can catch sharks and artificials, but I strongly suggest to chum, like Dave said, for them and use cut baits. Here we go again with the wire leaders. You want to use the circle hooks. 7 to 8 foot heavy rods, along with 5,000 to 8,000 series reels, and having at least 50-pound braid, especially if you're getting started trying to catch the sharks. Now, still on the offshore side, the mangrove snappers and the yellowtail snappers. Right now, according to Mike Avanon, if we've got the good weather to get out, that bite right now is on fire. Whether it be wrecks and ledges, starting at about 75 out to 90 feet from Naples to Fort Myers Beach, they are real responsive right now to the ground, chum, especially on your falling tides. Get out there with that chum, just make sure you have plenty. You're going to want to wait for the fish to get as close as possible, but wait until you see the fish up behind the boat. You can use free-line live pilchers, you can use live shrimp, or simply use cut baits. He's telling me with the clean water right now, 20-pound fluorocarbon, 2 circle hooks. I got a prime example of some yellowtails just caught in the last week.
with the manager from Bass Pro, Chuck. There's a fine variety of yellowtails, and by the way, Chuck, happy birthday. Before I go inshore, Naples Take a Soldier Fishing is coming up September 10th out of Hamilton Harbor and Gordon Pass. Make sure you get out and support the troops, fire, and police. Want to see everybody out there. Snook. With the opening of snook season just around the corner, still getting great reports to the north with fish in the passes and along the beaches anywhere from Sanibel to Stunt Pass. Now Naples to Estero, intercoastal docks and seawalls, especially at night along the lights. If you're fishing the lights, I recommend the shadow lines for your bigger snook. A lot of fish in the lights, but a lot of those fish are smaller and they spook real easy. To the south, Indian Key to Lossman's River, you want to be using bigger baits along Gulf points, especially where there's deadwood involved. Now your mid-tides have been best with live fish and pilchards, but to the north, live shrimp at night, and to the south, you want to be using pilchards, pet baits, the bass assassin, dyed dappers around that deadwood, and top water walk the dog lures. Prime example of a nice fish actually just caught a couple days ago to the south up near Cape Romano. Last species is going to be the redfish to the north. West side from Ding Darling to Boca Grande along areas of mangroves, especially on the higher tides, and the deeper troughs and points and docks on lower tides, stages of the tide. Now the slack part of the tide along those docks, live pinfish and cut baits, especially on knocker rigs, along docks, and to the north from Two Pines to Alligator on your lower stages as far back to the east, looking for cruising fish or fish grouped up on the deeper points back into those areas and also the troughs. Now, at low water, your bass assassin paddle tails, 4-inch, gold spoons, and top water walk the dog lures like the new Berkeley hijacker. I strongly suggest, I've talked about the 120. When you're way back there to the east in that settled water with no wind, the 100 series hits the water real soft. Got a prime example of a nice fish just caught up in Charlotte Harbor. Guys, the weather's still looking great for the weekend. Both for inshore and offshore, get out, catch some fish.
Hey, Ronnie, going back to this redfish real quick, you were talking about the smaller topwaters. Is that because you prefer that because that's the size bait that's in the water, or is it simply from a sound aspect when it does hit the water?
Well, two things, because of the size bait that's in the water, and if you hear what I mentioned, especially on the lower water from Alligator all the way down the Burns lower tides, water's only about 8, 10, 12 inches deep. So when you get back there, you want to throw something subtle, especially with some of them tailors, cruising fish. When you throw that 120, that thing's really too loud in that clear water back there and just spooks the fish, and your chances are really slim at catching a fish.
Well, thanks for clearing that up, Ronnie. I'm going to take your caddy can hot spots for the Southwest region from here. Captain Ronnie says, juvenile tarpon in the feeder creeks from US 41 that are dumping into middle bays from the Barron River to Buttonwood Bay, and then offshore, cobia on the wrecks and artificial reefs from Naples to Sanibel. Fish seem to be migrating back to the south right now from the Panhandle region, so it looks like there's more of them showing up in the region, and that's always a good thing when you're talking about cobia. Right. We love them too. We
love them cobes. All right, are you a procrastinator? Do you think it's too hot, or there's just not enough time left to fish the West Marine CCA Star Competition to win? Well, Jim, that's not true.
Not true.
You can still win an awesome prize worth over $2,000 just for being registered. No need to go fishing or submit a catch to win the Last Cast in Star. One winner will be randomly selected from the list of registered anglers and win the Last Cast prize package, which includes a $250 gift card, angle cooler, corporate table at the Star Awards ceremony on October 8th, and the best yet, winner's choice of a fishing trip with one of the Florida Insider Fishing Report captains. Maybe even you, Jim Ross, but you can't win if you are not registered, and registration ends September 5th, so go to ccaflstar.com. You ready to take a winner fishing?
I'm ready.
You're ready. You're always ready. All right, we're attacking...
Anything that involves fishing, I'm ready.
You're ready. We're attacking the Auto Equipment Northeast and Real Legends Central East regions next, and talking with our friend from Fish Bites, so keep chumming, and we will be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Bahio Sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. Florida Coast Equipment, your local Kubota dealer. Coast to coast, we've got you covered. And Garmin, plot your paradise.
Hey, we're back, and we're going to talk a little bit about Fish Bites with the Pro Staff Princess.
That's me.
Courtney Wozniak, and I appreciate you showing up, Courtney. We've been using Fish Bites now for a couple of years, and we've been getting accustomed to throwing some of the shaped baits, not just the little strips.
Correct.
But you guys are doing so much more now.
We are. Yeah.
So much more. So we've got the original baits, the original dirty boxers, and we've all seen these.
They're the most popular.
And these make great trailers, or you can fish them on your own. Right. But you've got a new product out now.
We do, yeah. The 6-inch grub. So it's definitely a bigger profile, going after those bigger predator fish. A lot of guys are doing great with them offshore right now as well. So that's the newest one.
So this would be something that you could either use as a trailer because it's long enough to stick out of a cobia jig or a snook jig or something like that. It's got a big enough profile that creates some action. But what about durability? Because, a lot of plastics get pulled off at the, when snook just comes up in short strikes or something like that. How do these last?
Yeah, so our material is a lot different. It's not your typical rubber, plastic bait. It's all natural, biodegradable, and the material itself actually allows water to pass through the bait, which really releases that scent in the water, creates that great scent trail. There's nothing like it. And
like the hammer times, you can rig those in a variety of ways. You can rig them weedless, you can rig them on a jig head, you can rig them on a bucktail. The hammer times, these baits are a staple for us inshore if we want to if we want to pitch up around docks and mangroves. If we want to skip it up into the root systems, we can rig them weedless.
Exactly.
Around docks. But how do you like to fish it best?
Ooh, tough. So just the typical jig head. If I'm fishing for anything that's mid-water column, I'll be using that. Weedless, docks, rocks, grass lines are my favorite. Definitely love that dirty boxer on the weedless jig.
Now, not only do you have a variety of colors like we see here, and a variety of sizes now with this larger bait, but you've also got the accessories that go along with it.
Correct.
You guys and gals now have jig heads?
Yep, our Fight Club jig heads just came out with these. These are made specifically for the Fight Club lure, and so it's a great hook keeper, keeps them on for a long time.
And then, of course, one of my favorites, the weedless weighted hook.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so when you're rigging with a weedless weighted hook, this thing will slide through the grass.
Oh, for sure.
Nothing. I mean, you can skip it under mangroves and docks like you were talking about. So, when you're talking about these types of lures, redfish, trout, snook, tarpon, everything basically that you would think that's going to eat a minnow will eat these. But offshore, these bigger baits, and in the inlets, these bigger baits are now going to create a whole new era or a whole new area that you can fish.
Game changer, yep. Big snapper, grouper, barracuda.
How does somebody find out more about Fish Bites and the new products that you guys are bringing out?
So the best way to find out about Fish Bites is going to fishbites.com. It's got all of the information about the baits, the new tackle that's out. And if you're in the St. Augustine area, you can come by the Fish Bites Trading Post.
And see you some.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, I tell you what, it's been fantastic talking with you. Thank you for showing us the new products. And Brie, where are we going to go next?
All right, well, sharks are a hot topic in the Alto Equipment Northeast region. So let's see how Captain Tommy Derringer and company is getting us hooked up. What's up, Tommy?
What's up, Brie, Jim, Courtney, representing the Northeast region in there tonight. What's up? Good job there. Hey, I thought you guys might have Sharky Shark and the Munchie Bunch in there tonight, too.
Oh,
they didn't show up, I guess.
Wow, look at you.
But it was, hey, look, it's a great time of year to talk about sharks here in the Northeast region. Man, we've got a ton of them around. There's tons of different types of sharks. And all through the summer and fall, there's tons of different ways to catch them. You can target those big sharks in the pogie pods along the beach. Simply net some pogies, use them alive right around those bait pods, or even better, create your own chum slick by cutting those pogies up and then chumming the sharks up around those pods. Now, another popular way to target those sharks is going to be to get behind one of the shrimp boats that we have working the coast. When they toss their bycatch overboard, man, it can be a wild feeding frenzy, and you can sight fish those sharks, which is my favorite way to do it. And you're going to also find all kinds of different species of sharks behind the shrimp boats. One of my favorites is the spinner shark. I know Jim gets a lot of these too. They go airborne. When they're hooked, they'll clear 8-10 foot out of the water, spinning the whole time. It's really a sight to see. We also have some big bonnet head sharks inshore, and they can be a lot of fun on the light tackle stuff. And I say this, I think, every year when we do the shark show, but I don't think it's caught on quite yet. I call those bonnet heads the Northeast Florida bonefish, because they make some huge or really long drag screaming runs. Now, those bonnethead sharks are primarily crustacean eaters, so a halved blue crab or a shrimp, those are going to be the baits of choice for those guys. Sharks are a fantastic way to get your kid hooked up on something big. It's great practice and learning how to fight a big fish in general. And, anglers of all ages, they always get super excited to catch a big shark. And speaking of big sharks, I've got a picture here. This is a couple guys that I had out behind those shrimp boats I was talking about, where we hooked a bunch of blacktip, bull, and some spinner sharks. That one was waving his tail at us there.
That's a good
Now, also
size one.
offshore, mutton snapper. I talked to Captain Adam Jeffrey from Real Dream Charters out of St. Augustine. He tells me the mutton snapper bite has been going off this week. Captain Adam says he's been averaging somewhere between 10 and 20 muttons a trip over the last couple of weeks. And some of those fish have been over 20 pounds. And he said there's a good mix of mangrove and yellowtail snapper in there as well. And he's been fishing in that 120 to about 170 foot. He's going to use a Carolina rig with 60-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 6/0 Eagle Claw circle hook. His baits of choice have been live sardines, goggle eyes, or cigar minnows. But Captain Adam did say the frozen stuff has been working, but you might have to be a little more patient with those. Now, I've got another picture here. Captain Adam Jeffrey from Real Dream Charters sent me this picture of his client with a couple of really nice sized muttons from this week. Now, moving
delicious.
inshore, tarpon. We're in the thick of the tarpon season here in the Northeast region. The big migrating fish, they're on the beach chasing, the pogies and the red minnows. I've heard Jim been talking about those red minnows last couple of weeks. They're heading up our way now. The majority of those big fish have been in the northern part of the region from Mayport to the Florida-Georgia line on those pogies, but they're starting to move to the south now on those minnows as well. Now, there's also scattered tarpon in the ICW from Daytona to St. Augustine. Now, they've been moving around quite a bit, but if you can find those tarpon on the inshore side, they've been hungry. A free line mullet, pinfish, or croaker, it's been working well for those inshore fish. And my clients have also been doing well tossing those bigger saltwater assassin sea shads to some rolling fish. It's been a great year for tarpon guys. Let's hope it only gets better as that mullet run should start up here over the next few weeks. Now, also inshore, it's a great time of year to target snook in our region. The snook bite has been great, especially in that south end of the region around Tomoka and the High Bridge areas. Topwater plugs early and then big live shrimp later in the morning have been working well both at the bridges and around the docks and any other kind of riprap or structure. Now, the snook have also been surprisingly thick around St. Augustine and even up in the St. Johns River. I've seen and heard of quite a few slot and even some over slot snook, which is really cool, being caught mostly as a bycatch, when anglers, they're fishing for redfish and tarpon. On the bridges, they're a hot spot, and a big live mullet or pinfish seems to be the ticket. And speaking of bridge snook, I've got one last picture. Kelly Douglas sent me this picture of an awesome snook that she caught this week at one of those St. Augustine bridges.
Cool.
Tommy, it's amazing to see those fish getting farther and farther to the north, and you guys are getting shots at them now. Snook are becoming the new go-to species throughout the state almost.
You're
Thanks,
right.
buddy. I'm going to
That's
take
awesome.
your strike zone hotspots for the Northeast region from here. Captain Tommy says, tarpon along the beaches from Mayport to Amelia Island. Look for the busting fish in the pogie pods and the minnow pods. Those red minnows in particular, the big ones, love those. Now offshore, mutton snapper, 120 to 170 feet of water. The best baits have been live sardines, goggle eyes, or cigar minnows, as Rick would say.
He does say that, and I always repeat him just like he says. I don't know why. It's like I have to. Well, Jim, I feel like you're always talking about avoiding sharks in the Central East region.
Yeah.
But this week, we want to find them.
We
So
get
I
our
know
we
you're
get
the right
our
guy
we
to
get
do
our
it.
opportunities now. Yep.
So
yes,
why don't
we do.
you go ahead with your report from the
Well,
Real
let's
Legend
talk a little
Central
bit about that, because in my region, the shark bite has been solid all summer long. It's just, if you're on the beach, if you're offshore, doesn't really matter. The sharks are absolutely everywhere, and that's a good thing if you want to go catch them. Kids love catching sharks, and so it's one of the fish that I like to take them out for. But there is no shortage of them anywhere in the ocean right now. Fine-tooth bull, sandbar, blacktip, spinners, even hammerheads. They're found all the way from basically the beaches to offshore reefs and wrecks. And these top-level predators are following various types of bait fish. Inshore, obviously pogies and minnows are the way to go. Offshore, you're going to look for the sardines and the cigar minnows on those offshore reefs and wrecks. Anglers also fishing along the beaches, especially around the Melbourne Beach area and all the way up to Canaveral, are finding that fresh dead baits are working really well, and some of those fish are within 5 feet of shore, or like 5 feet of water, like just a couple of feet from shore. So you don't have to go very far, or you can actually land them from the beach in many cases. If you are in the water swimming or surfing and you are in a bait pod,
get out.
Just get out. Because New Smyrna is the shark bite capital of the world.
Just going to ask you that.
The north end of my region, it's not an accident. We have sharks.
Yep.
So we've got a picture here of a nice little beach shark that we had the other day. And if you notice, these aren't small fish. From that pink R&R cork to the circle hook that's in the corner of that fish's mouth is about an 8-foot leader. So if you drop that down to where his tail is, that's a pretty good sized shark.
Yeah, it's no bitty.
Now the other species in our region right now that you can catch in some cases even from the beach. I've had 2 reports of beach caught kingfish here this past week, not just the sharks. So anytime that you're looking for king mackerel, right outside the surf break, all the way to those 20 to 50 foot depths where the bait pods are holding, you're going to find kingfish throughout the entire region. And of course, they're feeding on those baits. Slow troll with a live pogie on a wire stinger rig. Last week's show we featured kingfish as the theme species. So go back to the YouTube channel, Rick Murphy YouTube channel, and watch that show over again if you need any kingfish tips. But basically a wire stinger rig, live bait, dead bait, doesn't really matter. And then out on the 60 to 90 foot reefs and wrecks, same kind of thing. And you can also pull planers and paravanes with a spoon behind it or a sea witch strip, that kind of thing. Our average king mackerel is running 15 to 25 pounds right now. And, swinging, kind of doing a big loop, doing a 360 here. We're not really going inshore, but we're going to go to near shore / inshore with the tarpon. And the tarpon this week have been really good. The bite's been best. In fact, it's been really, really good. Probably the best bite that we've had all year we had this past week, obviously mixed in with those sharks and king mackerel. 100-pound test is a little heavy. Sometimes you can get away with 60 to 80-pound tests and a 6/0 to 8/0 circle hook on those bait fish that you're putting out in front of them. Get in front of the tarpon school and let your baits drift through them. Don't motor around in them or you'll put the fish down. Our average tarpon right now is running 75 to 110 pounds, and I've got 2 pictures here. One of Cindy Levine. She had a bucket list and we put the check in that box. And then second was Jason Yeomans, and both of these are local anglers there, and both of them got some pretty nice tarpon with me this past week. Now, last species is snook. Now, anywhere from New Smyrna to Sebastian, you're going to find them this week, and they're holding around rock jetties, bridge pilings, residential docks, and the piers, even in the surf. Pilchards and croakers and pinfish are working really good for in all of those areas. An R&R flare hawk jig or a 6 to 7 inch long plastic bait like the Saltwater Assassin 6-inch swim shads work really good. The 5-inch dye dappers will even work, especially in the surf. Look for shadow lines to catch those fish around at night. And I've got another picture here. Captain Brian Pounds sent me of Les Bendard with a nice snook that they caught up in New Smyrna here this past week.
Very nice. Not bad, Jim.
Yeah.
Very good.
Lots of good fish in my region, and sharks obviously being one of them.
Right, exactly. All right, well, let's take a look at your Rodan Marine Systems hotspots for the Central East region, shall we?
Let's do that.
Go for it.
Well, here's what I have to say about that. Speckled trout in Mosquito Lagoon, and I know we didn't talk about them, but guess what? Use a Saltwater Assassin in the 4 to 5 inch size or a topwater plug, and you're going to get some fish up to 5 pounds around those grassy areas. Offshore, sharks are everywhere. You can find them all along the beaches, all over the reefs and wrecks. Just about any live bait on a piece of wire is going to get you bit this week on the shark.
Speckled trout, extra credit there.
Yeah. We got some good ones.
Yeah, well, that's why it's a hot spot. The Garmin Panhandle region is getting ready to jump in the Shark Tank next. But first, Dave is playing a little Shark Tank himself and reviewing some Taco Marine new products at the CCA workbench. Dave.
I got some ugly sticks and this little lure, which is kind of a weird looking little creature.
It'll get bit, but those sticks ain't ugly. They're very pretty.
They're very pretty.
Yeah, they are.
Pretty ugly.
Pretty ugly. We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Fenwick, feel everything. Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're back at the CCA Workbench for the Taco Marine new product segment.
Yes, sir.
Dave, we have got some fantastic looking rods here.
Yeah, they are very nice. You know, when I was a kid, the ugly stick was my go-to choice because I always broke them and I could take them back to the Walmart and get me a new one with 2 pieces. And I would snag mullet on the Pineda Causeway until I'd break them on the concrete. But because they were indestructible, they were almost impossible to break, but I found a way.
Well, you know, bicycle spokes, chain link fences, things we did as kids that weren't conducive to rod.
Well, these are great because, you know, these are the new ugly stick carbon inshore rod, the same toughness as the old ugly sticks. These are 100% graphite blanks, solid graphite tips as well. There's 9 models of them. There's 3 casting and 6 spinning. They're all one-piece stainless guides in here as well, which I really appreciate. I'm so tired of having inserts.
The inserts falling out. It's aggravating.
It is.
Especially right when you get a big fish on.
Yeah, and I remember when I was a kid, they were all solid stainless steel guides, and I didn't never have a problem with a guide. And now, you know.
Some of them have cork. Some of them have EVA.
They have the really premium nice cork on there, or they call those shrink tube handles there.
Okay.
So, you got a really good grip either way you go with those.
They're tacky almost.
Yeah, they're very sticky.
Good and grippy.
You know, so, anyway, go out and get you some of those ugly sticks, you know, at purefishing.com. So.
Well, what else have we got here?
Next, we got the Ugly Claw Redfish rig. Now, this is a pretty long 48-inch rig that comes 2 to a pack with a 7/0 or a 5/0 depending on which one you buy. They're pre-rigged up so they have a sliding swivel for your sinker. It's got 2 red beads on there, so it's pretty much like a fish finder rig. You know, you put your weight on the swivel there and tie to the other end of the swivel, and you can let your big chunk baits or your big live baits sit in the current. You know, with a big bank sinker on there, and because when the big redfish get into the inlet, this would actually be a good shark rig.
Yeah,
too.
It would. I was just thinking that.
We're just shark show, but this would be a great shark rig as well. You drop this off the side of the boat and put you a big piece of meat on there, and you can get you a couple.
Eagle Claw's coming out with so many different kinds of rigs right now. They're making fishing easier.
They are, and you go to eagleclaw.com to get your redfish rig. Next, we got the Berkley long reach pliers. I thought, because we were talking about the sharks again, those long reach pliers are really nice. 11 inches long. If you're the one who's brave enough to go in there and get your hook back, you want something that'll keep your hands away from the teeth. And these are a good long pair of pliers that'll do just that. They have carbon steel jaws, corrosion resistant coating on there.
I like this little spring
setup. Yeah, got a nice little spring assisted one hand operation, so they always stay open a little bit in case you come off and need to go back in there.
Well, if you need to grab another hook, it's already automatically opened. You don't have to open it yourself.
Correct.
It's already there for you.
Correct.
All you have to do is close back down again.
Right. They're great for kayaks too, because they got that longer reach, and sharks, and like I said, all the other toothy critters got the nice rubber or ergonomic handle and the lanyard there that's adjustable, so you can put that on your wrist and not have to worry about it.
And what have we got here?
berkleyfish.com to get
for those pliers. And what is this? This is a soft. This looks like a gummy. This looks like a little gummy bear.
It's a crazy croaker. Mirror Lure makes this lure. It's a really cool little dude. It's a twitch bait. It's a 2 3/4 inch, and it's got a unique flat nose on there, so it gives it a really wild vibration and very unpredictable. It bounces all over the place with that hump back and that flat nose. And if you go real fast and twitch it, it just twitches everywhere. And if you slow down, it kind of goes like a wounded bait fish with a little bit of a wiggle to it.
Gotcha.
They, real popular in Texas. The trout guys love this thing. It's been around for a long time.
And they've got rattles in them too, Dave.
Yeah, a little soft body and 2 razor sharp treble hooks. Those are the same treble hooks I think that are on the Mirrodine. They are incredibly sharp. 3 to 6 feet down, is where it does most of its good work there.
Gotcha. So deeper grass flats.
Right. Go to shopmirrorlure.com to get yourself one of those crazy croaker
Great job
sinking
tonight.
twitch baits.
Good stuff. Well, we're going to take it back to Brie and see where we're going next.
Yes, we are. All right, pick a shark, any shark in the Panhandle region, and Captain Pat Deneen will help you find them. Give us Shark Week, Pat.
Hey, Brie, if you want sharks, the Garmin Panhandle region has them in great numbers. Everything from small light tackle sharks to sea monsters. So they're caught in the Gulf and in the bays. Anywhere you find an abundance of bait or food, you're going to probably find some sharks. Blacktips, bulls, spinners are primarily caught along the coast and in the bays, and Indian Pass and West Pass over in Apalachicola, you often have a hard time getting away from them. Ladyfish and menhaden, they're great baits inshore, and you can often get away with using medium heavy spinning tackle, or medium conventional tackle. And although some of the bull sharks inshore can get quite large, if you want to target the bigger sharks, get into the Gulf. Bulls, tigers, hammerheads, and others. Mako sharks are fairly common in late winter and spring along the second sandbar. And out in the Gulf, you can fish for these bigger sharks off the beach, from a boat, or even off some of the coastal piers, like Navarre Pier is the first one to come to mind. The bonita make excellent baits for the larger sharks, as do stingrays. And then there's a photo that Captain Clint Hood sent in. He's over in Walton County. Him and his young angler with a nice blacktip shark they caught in Hogtown Bayou using menhaden for bait. I'm sure that young man's going to be speaking about his catch for a long time.
Kids love sharks, don't they? Well, tell us
about the
really drop.
Moving offshore, or staying offshore, we've had an awesome run of calm seas if you can avoid the isolated thunderstorms. But there hasn't been much wind, and the anglers are taking advantage and running offshore to do some deep dropping, catching tilefish, snappers, and groupers in 700 and 900 foot of water. They're using a 5 to 7 hook deep drop rig with a light source tied up at the swivel and enough lead to hold the bottom. And you want to bait your rigs with cut bait or live minnows, the ladyfish, bonita, and Boston mackerel. They all make great cut baits, but if you're using a live bait, make sure you hook your live bait real well and get a good purchase on it. I mean, they're nice and alive on surface. They're probably not going to be alive on the bottom, but you want them to still be on the hook. Snapper and grouper are coming off hard bottom areas and structured like the pipeline. The tilefish are coming off mud bottom flats by drifting. And there's a photo sent in by by James Frudenberg. He's a firefighter in Fort Walton Beach, Jim. And they were deep dropping out in that 800 foot of water along the pipeline. He was slow pitching a jig off a spinner rod. Caught that really nice yellowfin tuna. So that's a great bonus, right?
That's a nice bonus
amazing.
Right there.
Yep. Hey, moving inshore, just like last week, the big redfish are coming from the bays. Best bite seems to be late afternoon, and you're going to find them near the bait. Menhaden have been the most common bait source, but lately the red minnows are showing up in really good numbers, particularly around the Mid-Bay Bridge. So anchoring and chumming with menhaden is really effective if you have some current. If you don't, golden croakers are hands down the best bait. You either free line them or slip sinker rig them. Additionally, when the red minnows get pushed up to the surface, topwater baits are the way to go. And pretty much all these reds are well over slots, so handle them with care and release them healthy. And there's a photo that I sent in actually of my wife Tony and I with a beautiful redfish she caught Saturday live baiting around the Mid-Bay Bridge. So go Tony. Right on.
Hi, y'all are so cute.
That's our girl power, right, Brie?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, finally inshore, the June grass along the panhandle beaches is starting to clear out, making for better surf fishing, either from the shore or a boat. Bluefish, redfish, sharks, Spanish mackerel, pompano, whiting, those all the species you probably encounter. Great time to be casting jigs and spoons or to set fish with sand fleas, fish bites, or shrimp. And oftentimes, the abundance of life it's concentrated in a narrow section of beach, so it pays to travel a little bit to find out where that section is. So either walk, bike, or cruise the beach to find those areas. This fishery will continue to improve as the water cools off and clears.
Pat, do you ever throw like small glass minnow imitations like jigs or spoons to some of those fish along the beaches there?
I mean, diamond jigs are great, but man, my go-to is either going to be a bucktail jig or a mylar jig on the beach, or a soft plastic and white or light color. So we've got clear water and white bottom.
White bottom, just match the hatch basically.
That's it.
Well, thanks, Pat. We appreciate that. I'll take your blue water outrigger hot spots for the Panhandle region from here. Triggerfish on cut bait or fish bites over structure in 80 to 200 feet of water is what is the offshore. And then inshore, St. Joe Bay for scallops and potholes around the Black Island and kayak launch areas.
And yellowfin. That was amazing.
Bonus, sushi bonus. How good
Are you
can
kidding
it
me?
get?
That was such a beautiful picture.
love
It
it.
needs to be framed. Okay, we're going to need a bigger boat as we get ready to go on a shark venture in the Fish Bites East and Yanmar ASB Keys region when we come back, and we're definitely going to need a bigger boat for our last live audience show of the season coming up September 7th, which is our bass show. So make sure you head to our website to sign up. We're going to have some very special guests in the house. They might be kind of famous. It's going to be a bass.
It's going to be the best.
The bass. I can't stop. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Fenwick, feel everything. Strike Zone Fishing. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Yanmar ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Welcome back, everyone. So, Jim, while you were gone, because you've been here a lot lately, Rick and I thought it would be great to share our favorite boat snacks along with adult sandbar beverages. So let's take a look and you let me know what you think.
I'll do that.
Okay.
You know, Brie, I thought it'd be really cool to talk about our favorite boat foods. And you know, as you know, chicken is certainly my favorite. Yeah. And the worst thing you can do for chicken is allow it to get soggy. Agreed. So a couple key tricks that I like on the Murphy's Law boat is to take its normal bag, this is a wax bag, and let it cool. Don't go with hot chicken and go right to the ice. Let it cool, put it in a hatch, and then what that does is once it reaches the normal temperature, then you can slide it in the cooler. Use your plastic bag before you put it on the ice. If you buy it the night before at your local grocery store, here's a cool tip that you're gonna put it in a container. Put a paper towel between in the bottom of your container. And what that does is it'll absorb the grease, but it'll also absorb the condensation from the ice while it's sitting on the ice. Nobody likes soggy chicken.
No.
Now tell me, what's one of your favorites?
Well, again, with moisture, this is my Snackle box, and it keeps it moisture proof. You can throw it in the cooler and it'll be just fine. I've got my turkey roll-ups, which is my ultimate favorite boat snack. Hummus, carrots, heart of palm, blueberries, raisins, crackers. You've got your fig Newtons here. Really anything you want to put in here, you can. You can personalize it to your family, whatever it may be, but at least it's safe from the ice in the cooler. And then, of course, my Uncrustable, which I always have.
You got to have it for the babies. Yeah.
Adults love them, too, you know? So that's kind of my, in a nutshell, or in a
And then your drink, if you're going sandbarring, what's your favorite?
Oh, this is my favorite drink of all time. I've got a little bit of Jose Cuervo tequila. You freeze watermelon spears, very important. And all you do is blend watermelon spears, add some tequila, and coconut water for those electrolytes to keep you nice and hydrated while you're dehydrating.
I love that.
What about you?
Now, for me, on the sandbar, I love fish dip. So we have What We Are Smoking fish dip. I love the fact that they create their own crackers. They have a gluten-free cracker as well as an everything type of cracker. And then my go-to drink is certainly gonna be, I'm gonna take some 10 cup, make sure I get a lot of ice in my cup. I want it really cold. And then I mix it with ginger ale and one little slice of lime. It's very, very refreshing with the ginger ale. It's real soft on the stomach. It works really well.
How about, I'll try yours and you try mine. Now, I do love my whiskey on ice, but
there you go.
I also love my tequila on watermelon.
And as you know, I like tequila too. So I'm trying yours, you got mine.
Okay, ready? Let's go.
Right.
Okay, that's good. See how sweet that is? That's only watermelon, coconut water, and tequila.
And that's exactly how Ricky Diggy likes it. He likes it sweet. Make no mistake about that.
Well, I like mine with whiskey.
All right.
That's about good.
Thank you so much. This
See
was
you at the
really
sandbar.
fun. All
See you on the boat.
Okay, bye guys.
Well, that sure was fun. You obviously missed out.
I love this. I love the Snackle box.
Thanks.
That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The only thing it was missing was a yoo-hoo. You gotta have a yoo-hoo.
Oh, that's a that's a yoo-hoo thing.
It's me.
And who knows? There were so many ways to eat fried chicken on a boat. Only Rick Murphy would have all those tips, and they were all valid. All right, we miss you, Rick. Okay, the irony of the Fish Bites East region, because that's all the sharks seem to be doing in Palm Beach County. Captain Holiday, vent to us.
Yeah, you know, there is no lack of sharks in my region. They're actually a pest in a lot of areas, Palm Beach County in particular.
Yep.
We get a lot of bull sharks, dusky sharks, sandbar sharks, hammerheads, particularly offshore in Palm Beach County from about Jupiter all the way down to, the breakers. On the beach in my whole region, there's a lot of hammerheads, bulls, blacktips, spinner sharks. Places like the St. Lucie Inlet gets a lot of bulls and blacktips. Walton Rocks Beach gets a lot of blacktips. The St. Lucie Power Plant has everything in it in that outflow, and as does the Vero Cove. And really anywhere you see big schools of bait on the beach this time of the year, you can bet there's going to be sharks around. Most of the offshore anglers targeting the fish will hang a butterfly barracuda or a bonita or a jack crevalle. They'll hang them over the side to draw the sharks to the boat, and then they'll drop back either a chunk of those fish or a live jack crevalle or blue runner or something like that. A strip of Spanish mackerel works really good. Put it on a 7/0 to 9/0 4X strong trocar circle hook and at least a number 8 leader wire leader. On the beaches and on the inside, you can draw the sharks in with everything from a mullet to a small jack crevalle or blue runner. The average shark in my region is going to range from like 80-pound spinner sharks, 80 to 100-pound spinner sharks, to those 400-pound plus bull sharks and giant hammerheads. So we have no lack of sharks, that's for sure. I have a photo of one. That's Erin Rebar. She got that black tip shark fishing off Jupiter with Captain Quentin Hall, and that fish ate a small jack crevalle that they just drifted back. The other thing we got going on inshore right now, with this week's new moon, we've been seeing a good push of glass minnows and juvenile pilchards and sardines along the beaches. Really throughout the region, the best stuff is up in St. Lucie and Indian River County. And that's got the snook fired up at places like the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers, Hope Sound Beach, Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, Bob Graham Beach, South Beach and Fort Pierce, the Vero Cove, all the way up to Sebastian Inlet that bite is on. At the same time, the spawning populations are making a good push in all the inlets on this new moon and along the shorelines on either side of the inlet. So this is a great time to target fish with artificials like a 4-inch copper juice or a watermelon magic colored saltwater assassin sea shad. If you like to throw flies, a green and white baitfish pattern will work really well. You can always bring along a small cast net and catch your bait right into the trough and then fish it on the outside edges of those bait schools. In the inlets, threadfins, croakers, and sardines are the top baits, and the average snook is 8 to 15 pounds. We're seeing fish up to about 25 right now. I have a photo to go with that. That's Palm Beach dentist Bob Bowman. He got that nice snook on a fly along the shoreline in Stewart. That fish just ate a little baitfish pattern.
Fun stuff. Well, tell us about the kingfish.
Yeah, the kingfish bites really ramped up throughout the region. Fish are spread out along the reef in 110 to 150 feet of water off Palm Beach County. Really just anywhere you can find bait right now. The 6 and 8 mile reefs off Martin County, the offshore bar in St. Lucie County, the 12A buoy, the sand pile, the kingfish hole, the Vero Cove, you name it. If there's bait fish around, there's kings on them. A lot of smaller fish. It seems like there's a morning bite, then an afternoon bite. The fish are pushing onto the beaches when the wind blows out of the west. You'll find some bigger fish on the beach on that west wind. You can slow troll, or drift a Spanish sardine or threadfin or pilchard or blue runner. You can put them out on a wire stinger rig or a triple hook Palm Beach monofilament rig. A lot of guys use that triple hook rig, particularly when the water's super clear. A lot of the kings are in that 8 to 12 pound range, but we're seeing fish to 30 pounds. And I got a photo of a nice fish. That's Sinclair Sparks. He caught that king off a wreck in St. Lucie County on a live blue runner.
Nice fish.
And so the other bite we got going, the mutton and mangrove snapper bite, has been spectacular for like the last couple of weeks. Fish have been spawning concentrations. Seems like 80 to 105 foot reefs off Palm Beach, all the way up through Jupiter. Then it moves in a little bit to Loran Tower Ledge, a 6 and 8 mile reefs, 65 and 80 foot reefs off of Fort Pierce, and then all that goes all the way up to Bethel Shoals. More mangroves to the north, more muttons to the south. If you find a kingfish thick over a reef, the muttons are underneath them eating the pieces of bait fish that sink to the bottom. When the king cuts off a bait's tail and it just sinks, the muttons are down there plucking them. I've even heard of the kingfish guys complaining they're trolling baits for kings and the muttons are swimming all the way up and grabbing their sardines. And for the muttons, you want to work sandy edges of the reefs. Grunt plugs, ballyhoo plugs, pilchards on a 50-foot fluorocarbon leader is going to be the way to go. You can go to 70 feet if you need to. Fish the mangrove snapper directly on top of the mark instead of out in the sand. You can chum them to the surface with a mix of ground chum and juvenile pilchards, and then drop down a sardine or threadfin or cigar minnow on a light leader, and you'll do great. Average mutton's like 5 to 10 pounds. Average mangroves 2 to 4 pounds. And I have a photo. You got to check out this nice catch of mutton that Chris Britton caught. Chris is a captain at a Port St. Lucie. He got those fish on the 6 Mile Reef, just drifting with dead sardines.
Nice.
Not bad. Well, tell us about the bass this week, Mike.
Yeah, the summer heat's really impacting the bass bite on Lake Okeechobee right now. I was talking to Captain Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He said the fish are feeding on shad at dawn on the north end of Kings Bar, as well as off Cochran's Pass and around Whiddon's Pass. And you want to be on the water in the dark. You want to throw like a Bass Assassin forktail shad or a Die Dapper or a Boss Shiner, any of those soft plastics in the shad colors. It's so hot right now, the bite's only going 45 minutes. So if you miss that bite, you kind of miss out on half the fish you're going to catch for the day. Then it's time, when that bite stops, to flip a white jig or a creature bait along the outside edges of the grass in those same areas where the shad have been. You can also fish a June bug colored worm, rigged Senko style. If you're after a big fish right now, you still want to focus on the bluegill beds. Work like a mama's chicken or magic grass colored shad assassin, really any color with a chartreuse tail. Work them around those bluegill beds for those big fish that are in there eating the bluegill fry right now. Nice. And on Okeechobee, it's like a 20 fish morning, average bass 1 to 3 pounds, and big ones 4, 5, maybe 6 pounds.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that report, Mike. Here are the TH Marine hotspots for the East Region. Captain Mike says mangrove snapper and lookdowns at the St. Lucie Inlet use live shrimp, juvenile sardines, pilchards, and sand perch. And then offshore, king mackerel and mutton snapper on the Loran Tower ledge. Drift or anchor up with sardines, cigar minnows, or grunt plugs, and you can catch those fish.
All right, well, no matter how you look at the situation, sharks will be encountered at some point during our days on the water as anglers. So let's see how the Yanmar ASV Keys Region Captain Sarah Stanzik and her family sees it.
Hey everyone from the Yanmar ASV Keys region. Well, as my husband Nick would say, sharks are really fun to catch when you want to catch them, but not so much if you don't want to catch them. They do come in all different shapes and sizes and options here in the Keys, from little bonnet heads on the flat to much bigger tiger sharks and bull sharks offshore. There's a shark for everyone, you could just say it that way. They are easy to target with some fish carcasses or big chunks of bait. A wired leader is a must, and some heavier tackle and gear. If you're going to go for the bigger sharks, definitely use that heavier stuff in case you hook into a big one. If you don't have a boat, you can do shark fishing easily from the shoreline and bridges, and that can be lots of fun. I drive around every day and I see people like bent over, hooked up to big sharks off the shoreline. There can be big lemon sharks, bull sharks, and nurse sharks. Like, there's a lot of good shoreline shark fishing here in the Keys. In the backcountry, there's more lemons and bulls, hammerheads, and there's those little spinner sharks are back there that are fun because they jump out of the water and they put on a good show. I personally love catching those little bonnet head sharks on the flat. They're really fun. The kids love to catch them. They're just cute little baby sharks. They look like miniature hammerheads. They're cool to get a photo with. And they actually do put up a good fight despite their size. They scream some drag and line off your reel. They only get a foot or two long, too. So they're little sharks, but strong. And here's a photo of our little cousin Felix with a bonnet head he caught with Grandpa.
Do you sing Baby Shark?
Baby Shark?
Yeah. Perfect opportunity.
Moving inshore, when we bonefish a lot, we catch those little bonnet heads. And you all know I like to bonefish, so bonefish bite has been good lately, either early or late. You know, we all talk about how hot it is during the summer now. So during the day when the blazing hot sun is up isn't the best time for bonefish, but first thing in the morning or in the evening. I like to go in the evening a lot. Stealth is key either way, so being quiet on your boat, not slamming hatches or stomping around too much will help keep you incognito. I use live shrimp. It's one of their favorite baits, but they'll eat artificials too. And of course, they're a great fish to catch on fly if you want a real challenge. Here's a photo of us the other night. I took Sadie out on the shallow sport, and she caught her first bonefish that night where she actually reeled it in, like on her own.
Oh,
so that was a special night for me. Yeah, it was a nice little bonefish too, so that was fun. I'm just going to talk for a second. You see that big shallow sport 25-foot boat is up on that flat. That thing had no problem for a big boat with a 300 Yamaha engine to get in less than a foot of water. It'll float 9 inches, and it'll run over 6 inches up on a plane. So I can go take that boat anywhere a little skiff will get and not bother anything and be stealthy. That was fun using the boat. That was the first time I caught a bonefish on that boat, too. So plucking away at the species list.
That's awesome.
Well, what have we got offshore?
Offshore, we've had blackfin tunas on the humps, all different sizes for them, but doesn't matter what size they are, big or small, they all taste great. A lot of people kind of scoff at blackfins and think they're not that good to eat, but I'm telling you, blackfin tuna is really good. I love it for sushi. You just gotta deal with the fish. When you get it on the boat, it's best to bleed the fish out, put it on ice, let it sit for a day and rest the meat, you know? So if you process it correctly, it'll taste really good. Live pilchards and cigar minnows are popular baits, and like a Penn 65 to 7500 with 30 to 40 pound braid and a 15-foot long leader with a 4 circle hook is a good offshore setup for success. Also, vertical jigs and poppers are a fun way to catch them. And here's a picture of a charter boat Fearless with a nice little spread of tuna across the bow of his boat.
I'll take that.
Sushi it is. Well, tell us about the dolphin.
And of course, with tuna come mahi here in the Keys. Those two are our favorite summertime species. It's a little late in the summer, I keep saying, but man, the mahi fishing and tuna fishing has been good this time of year. Like, it's been nice fishing for both of those. Mahi's still here. This is a nice time of year. Late summer. A lot of people don't travel now. There's not a lot of boats out. School's back in, but it's a nice time of year. The weather patterns are calm usually, and the fishing's still good. So if you head offshore, mahi will eat anything from live pilchards to dead piece of squid and artificials. It just depends on their mood. Sometimes they won't eat anything dead. They only want something live. So I just tell everybody to take a variety of bait and be ready to use a little bit of everything. You want to look for birds diving down on bait, weed lines, marine debris floating, the signs of life, and then
tell us about the photo.
So here's the charter boat provider with a big bull mahi caught.
Beautiful.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Great report, and I'll take your shallow sport boats hot spots for the Keys region from here. Lots of bonefish around the inshore flats. Look for fish swimming, waking, in groups or as singles. Cast ahead of the fish and hopefully they'll swim into your bait and find it. Offshore, blackfin tuna have been on the humps offshore. Try to get there early in the morning with live baits like pilchards, which will give you the best shot at catching some of those. Love those blackfin.
So yummy. All right, now let's take a look at some tournaments coming up in the Florida Keys. First up, we have the Herman Lucerne Memorial Backcountry Fishing Championship, where anglers fish only in the boundaries of Everglades National Park, areas that Lucerne favored to target tarpon, redfish, snook, sea trout, snapper, bonefish, black drum, or bass. Then we have the Marathon International Bonefish Tournament, which has been around for 60 years, making this Mid-Keys tournament one of the oldest. Next is the Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, where trophies for trout, snook, and redfish are awarded in this annual fundraiser supporting local vocational scholarships and Take Stock in Children scholarships. And last we have the Ladies Let's Go Fishing Fever Inshore Offshore Tournament, where female fishing fans immerse themselves in an annual weekend seminar to learn inshore, offshore, bottom, and fly fishing and compete in a tournament designed for beginners. For more information on tournaments in the Florida Keys, visit flakeys.com. But Jim, we've got one last region to explore with our R&R Tackle Southeast captain, so don't go anywhere as Shark Week continues right here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Shallow Sport. Penn. Let the battle begin. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Today I would like to go over a little more advanced technique when using a power pole shallow water anchor. First thing I do when leaving the dock is pay attention to the wind direction and the sun. My goal is to fish all shorelines, flats, or docks with the wind and the sun at my back. Doing this gives me the best shot at sneaking up on fish and spotting them from further away. It also dramatically increases my casting distance. Throwing with the wind as opposed to casting directly into the wind is another key tip. Another advantage to approaching spots like this, when I'm working an area with the wind at my back, I do not have to use my trolling motor nearly as much. I also don't have to turn it up on higher speeds, which reduces hole slap and other noises that could spook fish. I'm trying to be as stealthy as possible and let the wind push me down a shoreline, giving me the best advantage possible. When I see a fish or I hook up, I deploy the power pole silently in the water. My boat remains facing downwind even with a single power pole anchor. Next time you're out on the water, fish with the wind and the sun at your back, and I guarantee your catches will go up. That's your power pole tip.
If you want to catch the man in the gray suit in the R&R Tackle Southeast region, all you have to do is catch something else. Tell us who's been stealing our dinners, Jimbo.
You got it, Brie, and hello, Jim and Dave, and I don't think it's any different here than anywhere else lately. There's no shortage of shark here in the Southeast region. And as a matter of fact, for the offshore fishermen, they've become a real nuisance attacking and eating a lot of the hooked fish that we're getting. Now, the most common sharks we encounter offshore are hammerheads, bulls, lemons, sandbars, and blacktips. And there's definitely no telling when a big tiger shark or even a mako or a great white might show up. Now, more often than not, sharks are holding on or near the bottom. So to really target those sharks, the best bet is to fish a weighted slab of bait close to the bottom, anywhere from 120 to 400 feet of water. Now, 30 to 50 pound tackle is adequate for most of the sharks, and number 9 to number 12 wire leader and 8/0 to 10/0 circle hooks, that completes our shark rig. Now, the inshore waters also hold a lot more sharks than most of us realize. There's plenty of big bulls, lemons, nurse, and even hammerheads that hang around the inlets, channels, and also the deeper edges of the flats. And since the inshore waters are not as deep as out in the deep water, obviously, you get away with using lighter tackle, but a wire leader and a decent-sized circle hook still needed. Now, favorite baits for both inshore and offshore are bonita and barracuda slabs, but when you get down to it, just about any chunk of bait, whether live or dead, will work. Now, I got a photo here. This is Matt Lamas with the 350-pound mako shark that they caught while deep dropping for tilefish, and that is a beautiful fish. And I'm pretty sure they let him go, which is a great thing.
Awesome.
Now, staying offshore, dolphin fish has been kind of hot and cold in the last month, at least for me, mostly cold. But in the last few days, we're starting to see a few more dolphin offshore. Fish have been anywhere from 5 to 15 miles offshore, and they've been mostly around floating debris. There's also been a few caught off scattered weed lines. There hasn't been a whole lot of bird activity, but that could change at any time. And the fish, they've been eating rig baits, small feathers, and lures. You want to troll them at around 5 to 6 knots. And then once we locate the fish, we've been using cup bonita or small live baits. Now, a lot of the dolphin on the floaters, they've been on the small side, so we've had to weed through those small ones to find some keepers. But a few of the fish that we found on the weed lines, they've been kind of cruising in the weed lines. They've been a little bigger. There's been some fish up to 20 pounds caught in the last couple of days. And you definitely don't know when a much larger one might show up. Now, moving inshore, we got mangrove snapper. They've been biting throughout the whole region. Look for these mangroves around any bottom structures in the bays, inlets, throughout the intercoastal waterway, channel ledges, and around bridges, dredge holes, and wrecks. Those are all places that are going to be holding these mangroves. Best fishing is going to be in the evenings. You want to use cut sardines, ballyhoo, or bonita, or small like pilchards, herrings, and pinfish. Now, definitely, I wouldn't recommend chumming. That usually attracts a lot of small stuff that's just going to steal your bait. And you want to fish your bait on the bottom, use a knocker rig, and fish around the outskirts of the structure. These mangroves have been anywhere from 1 to 4 pounds. And then if you want to do some easy inshore fishing by boat or foot, there's been some great largemouth and peacock bass fishing in the Everglades and also the lakes and canals throughout the whole region. The largemouth bite's been best in the early morning or late in the afternoon. You want to use some live shiners, artificial worms, or crankbaits. And if you want to sleep in, the peacocks, they're biting best in the afternoon on small live baits, small lipless minnows and chartreuse, silver and black, and also silver and green. And then in deeper water, soft plastics and root beer color, those have been getting a lot of bites also. Look for both the largemouth and the peacocks in area with clear water, current, and also around the canal mouths, bridge abutments, or any other structure. Got another photo here. This is Ken Lauderdale with a nice peacock bass that they caught at Holiday Park. They've been going in there catching 30, 40 peacocks an afternoon.
Wow.
Wow. You know, Jimbo, have you ever gone over and done that peacock bass fishing before?
I have never caught a peacock bass yet.
What?
I'm waiting to, though.
That is illegal.
For one.
All right. Well, Jimbo and I are in the same boat, so we're going to have to go do it together sometime. Yes, we will. Jimbo, we'll make it happen. I'm going to take your southeast hotspots from What Are We Smoking Fish Dip from here. Inshore. Fish your local lakes and canals with live or artificial baits for both largemouth and peacock bass. And then offshore, Jimbo says the hunt for dolphin offshore around the weed lines, that's where you're going to find them. Although any kind of floating debris will work. And if you see birds working, obviously check that out in that 8 to 15 mile mark.
Hold on, I just got to pick my jaw up off the floor. You and Jimbo
I
never
have
caught
never caught a peacock.
Like,
never caught a peacock.
Well,
actually,
it's time.
Robin wanted to get one today, and
You went shopping
we didn't
instead.
Do that. No, we went to the beach.
All right, fun. There you have it. Shark Week is completed, but make sure you stay hooked to see what, or better yet, where we're catching fish next week right here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Next week, we're talking piers and jetties, so make sure you tune into that. And we just made a date, gentlemen. We're going peacock fishing next Wednesday because Jim's back in town. He's never caught a peacock bass.
Yep. We'll get you one.
And
that'll be fun.
We're gonna get you one. We'll invite Jimbo. We'll see if he's available.
Maybe he can come too.
Maybe he will.
We can check 2 boxes.
Jim, thank you so much for being here. It's been a great show.
Yes, it has.
Shark Week has commenced. Dave, you're always great over here.
Dark Side of the Moon, Fantasy Football League.
Oh gosh.
Scarlet Pigs winning.